Hello, pen friends, journaling junkies, and stationery stands. Welcome back to my channel, Papeles de Eli B. I'm Eli, and I like to share my love for stationery on this channel. Hopefully you're here on purpose, and that sounds good to you because today I'm finally going to talk about my 2025 Techo Kaigi. Just in case you've never heard of a Techo Cousin before, it's a Japanese phrase that translates to planner meeting. So it's a time to evaluate the planners, journals, and notebooks that you use and perhaps decide whether they're working for you or not. I'm really excited to share mine this year because I feel like I have gotten so close to planner peace. Just to give a little bit of background, this is my third year of really going hard with journaling. My first year was really about experimenting and trying to figure out what I like, and I got a lot of things wrong because I was so new to the way that I was trying to go about it. I had already been consistent with morning pages, and I had a few bullet journal attempts in college as an attempt to organize my life. I also had a passion planner at one point that I thought I loved. But anyway, 2023 was the first year that I was like really trying to do the life book thing that Hobonichi brands themselves by and use books to organize my life and to document my life. Then last year, Hobonichi came out with a ton of designs that I fell in love with, and it was my first year of having multiple planners for hyper specific uses, almost none of which really worked for me. So this year I'm really glad to have been able to use those 2 years of experience to land on 2 books that are near perfect for me. It's funny because in the first 2 years my priority was to try everything I could, and I wanted to juggle multiple books because I fell so hard into this hobby, and I just wanted to give myself all the reasons I could to open up a planner or a journal. But now I am so relieved to really only have 2 that I want to focus on. And there are a couple that have more specific uses that I don't worry about keeping up with, and instead I just use them as I need them. And I love that for me. It's so much more sustainable and allows me to enjoy my hobby instead of viewing it as a chore, especially since I really do not have a lot of time to spare as someone who works a 9 to 5 and has a family and other hobbies as well. The first book that I'll talk about is my week's mega. I decided on using this book because of the experience I had last year carrying around little A6 notebooks. I started carrying them with me because, like I mentioned earlier, I was trying to keep up with so many planners, and I absolutely hated the experience of opening a planner and trying to recall the information that I wanted to record in it. That's one thing I found about myself and the way I do journaling or logging or whatever. I do not like sitting at a planner and having to spend time trying to simply recall information. It frustrates me to no end because I feel like I'm wasting time, and I feel like I'm making my brain work for something that's supposed to be relaxing. I want to be able to open it and immediately get right into it. So I figured that I would write down everything that was supposed to go into all of my different planners throughout the day in that little A6 book that I could then use to rapidly fill out all of those planners at the end of the day. It never quite worked out like that. I couldn't get into that rhythm, but I did find that I liked carrying around a small book with me that could fit anywhere, and I could easily whip out and write something down the moment it happens or the moment it occurs to me. It made me realize that I really didn't like logging my day's activities in a weekly spread like what I have in this common planner. I'm going to talk about it later, but just to have a visual of a weekly spread. Last year was my second year of trying to do that because it really appealed to me as someone who hates looking back on a day and feeling like it must have gone to waste because I can't remember anything that I did that day. But I don't like all the structure of a weekly spread for logging because I may get a lot done in one tiny little 30-minute block because I'm super focused, and then I don't have the space to record all those things in the weekly spread. And then I may nap for a whole 3 hours, and I have to dedicate all that space in the timeline to that one thing when it would be much better used for the more active parts of my day. So I like being able to just write a time, jot down what I've done, and then write the next time when I'm doing something different. It's much faster and less stressful that way. And all of the information that I was trying to spread out across different planners, I found that I liked it all in one place as just a general record of my life. So that's why I decided on this week's mega. It was essential for me to have a book that's small enough to be portable and carry with me everywhere. And I also really wanted a book that could hold all of the information that I want to record for the year. And I figured that this book would have enough pages to do that. Okay, so if the audio sounds different here, it's because I'm recording it after the initial filming of this video because I have better words now than I did before. Basically, I was preemptively defending myself because I feel like I have to convince y'all that I actually do love this planner because there is spoiler alert, so much blank space. And that is so silly because A, it's my damn planner. Who the hell cares what a naysayer has to say? And B, people who watch journaling videos are really nice and don't tend to leave attacking comments and usually can relate to the experience of having the best intentions for a book and then for some reason not being able to execute like they want to, resulting in a bunch of blank pages. I've seen it in plenty of videos. The only difference is that those people admit this isn't working for me, whereas I am very adamant that this is perfect for me. But I know it doesn't look like that, so I feel like I have to explain. There have been so many times in my 2 prior years of journaling where I've just made up something to record to fill a journal that I wanted to use. This is the first year that every single section of a book I have is dedicated to something that I actually aspire to record. Like, even if it's hard to put my pen to paper and actually do it, there are things that I can't really let go of wanting to try. Like in my menstrual tracker, I only put anything in 1 month, and it wasn't even my full cycle. But I do think that that's something that should be tracked. No matter how much blank space is in here, I have it set aside for things that I actually aspire to, like what my ideal planning or journaling self would do. I have it set aside for things that I actually aspire to track and or document. I've made maybe 5 doodles all year, but I do aspire to be a doodler, and having a little space set aside for that reminds me of that. And if I didn't set it aside, I would have 0 doodles. So it feels good to have all of those things worked out, and a half-used or even quarter-used planner feels like a relief after going through a year of multiple barely used planners. So I just wanted to get all that out of the way because I have so much cringy, apologetic attempts to explain away the blank space, and I'm just going to edit all of that out and put this in instead. Okay, back to the video. Plus, I really like having a weekly to-do list. Space for daily to-dos would just be too much for me. However, I do sometimes have hectic days where I feel like I need to list every single little task that needs done for me to be able to keep it straight in my head. And honestly, I find it more helpful to use my phone for days like that because it's even easier to whip out than my planner. And when I have days like that, I don't care to keep the to-do list, so I like that I can easily just delete the note from my phone. So I just opened this up to a random page to show my weekly to-dos. But to me, planner piece isn't about finding a system that's so perfect that I never miss a day. It's about having everything I may need, all the space that I would use if I were extremely consistent with everything, and an extremely minimal amount of what I don't need. But one of the freedoms that comes with having such a consolidated book lineup is that I don't really feel guilty for not using up all of my pages, and I don't feel like I'm wasting much. I use it enough, and there is enough good information in here that it makes up for the days that are missed. So finally getting into this thing, we'll start with the back pages because those are the most like the A6 books that I used last year to log a bunch of information about my days. On an ideal day, when I write down all of the information that I want to capture, I'll write the time that I slept by the date, along with the high and low temperature of the day and the times of the sunrise and the sunset. And some of those are just things that I randomly came up with as things that could be tracked in order to fill up space in my hyper-specific books from last year that I needed to create in order to use up all the planners that I fell in love with. But there are things that I thought were interesting enough and small enough that I like having them recorded in just a small space in my book. Then it took a little bit of time to figure out where I wanted to put the line. As you can see, it has changed. So this one is 4 blocks out from the invisible line. This one is 5 blocks out. This one is more, I think 6 blocks out. And then I kind of settled on 2 blocks out with the log of what I've done in a day on the wider side. And then on the smaller side, it's just little notes like perhaps purchases or something that I've discovered, something that I came across in my day that I wanted to remember, a recommendation that someone has made to me, anything like that. I almost never write down all of those things. My little note side tends to be quite blank. But honestly, the log of things I've done is enough. And I've decided that if I miss a day and haven't logged all of the times same day, because of course it's hard to remember specifics of a prior day, I'm okay with just having a list of things that I've done without the times. I have an example of that later on. At the beginning of the year, I was just so, I've talked about it before. The beginning of this year, I didn't want to be in my journals. I just didn't have like the motivation. I just was not feeling passionate about it at all. And I've said it a couple times, but I really do think it has to do with how much I spent on Hobonichi last year. I think I just felt really guilty about that and kind of distanced myself from my journals because of that. But it came back in like April. And now I really do love my journals and being in them, but for some reason it is still difficult to keep up on them, even though I don't feel like I've given myself that much to do, which I've done so on purpose to make it easier to keep up with them. But I don't know. So yeah, here's an example of a day where I literally just have a list of the things that I did. No line, no times. It's just what do I remember having happened that day? And that's good enough for me. With my journals in the past, I felt like if I'm not going to do it perfectly, it's not worth it at all. But here, I don't feel that way at all. If I get around to logging all the things that I'm interested in logging, cool. And if I don't, I know there will be days when I will. And I'm more interested in one day being able to look back and get a general snapshot of a time in my life rather than the nitty-gritty of every single day. Even though, again, ideally, I would write down the nitty-gritty of every single day. But again, it really doesn't matter. And I think part of the reason why I'm so relaxed with this, there's so much blankness, is because I honestly keep up really consistently with this. I'm about to get to it soon. So for the weekly spreads, it was a given that I would use the blank page the way that I discovered in 2023 that I really, really love, which is a space for habits, a space for weekly tasks under that, which is very inspired by Lindsay Scribbles. Maybe she got it somewhere else, but I first saw it on her channel and found that it's perfect for my needs. And I also have a space for daily doodles, even though they're super, super rare for me. It was a little harder to figure out how I was going to use the horizontal weekly, but of course I wanted to be able to log information that I cared a little bit more about than the things I'm okay with skipping over in the back pages, like purchases or high-low temperatures. And since they can easily be broken down into morning, afternoon, evening spaces due to the little dots that Hobonichi puts on their horizontal weekly, I thought they lent themselves perfectly for what I eat and my moods throughout the day. Surprisingly, I'm more consistent with these than with the logging of my times and activities in the back, but I think it's because it's a more structured space. It's quick and easy to fill out, and I'm on these pages more due to the habit and to-do sections. So here's just flipping through. You can get an idea of how consistent I was or wasn't. Again, the beginning of the year was not great for me journaling wise, but in April it kind of picked up. This is the first full week in April. And it stays at least halfway consistent from then on, mostly. And this is the current week. Yeah. This is the pencil board I have in here for now because I think it fits the season really well. And then on the page, I have these, they're kind of like to-do sticky notes. They come out of this little box and it has these kind of ridges here so that you can tear the list once you have a full one. And I haven't decided if I think it's best for long-term to-dos, because I think those also might be good with just a page in the back at the very end. Or maybe it's a day where I want to write down all of my tiny little to-dos, but I don't feel like using my phone. I don't know, but it just makes me feel somehow more secure by having this little to-do sticky list on the back of my pencil board. I don't use the monthly very often, but ideally, I keep events here that I don't want to forget, like people's birthdays. I have so many loved ones' birthdays in February, or writing local events that I could potentially go to on the side. Sailor Moon Live came to a city near me, and I didn't get to see it, and I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself for that. I'm kidding, but also I'm not. So yeah, in June, I filled it out a little more because I realized wow, it just feels so good to have something that is actually useful dedicated to each section. And then I just have to use it for it to work for me, you know? Like, this is already my everyday book for like all this little nitty gritty stuff in the back, and then like to-do lists and logging of food and emotions, and then events here. Like it's a perfect little book. I don't really like set aside time to be in my journal or in my planner. This is probably more of a, I don't know if it's more of a planner or journal to me. It kind of feels like more of a journal because I'm filling things out as they happen rather than planning ahead. But this is the most plannery thing in my life. Like, I don't really have a digital calendar that I use consistently. And I have to-dos and event pages, so I guess it is a planner. Going back to what I was saying about like having a use for every single thing, I really do, and it's really great. I'm supposed to be tracking my menstrual cycle here, and I filled out like 3 days in April, and that's literally it. But the fact that we're only halfway through the year gives me some hope. I want to get my stuff together because I really do love this. And even if only half of the year is filled out perfectly or near perfectly, I still feel like that's not a lot of waste because, again, like, I'm only using 2 books. I just really feel so liberated from like feeling that I have to use a fat stack of books every year. That just was not working for me. I really wanted it to for a little bit. And if it's hard for me to keep up with 2 books, you can imagine how blank the other books I was using were, or the books that I was trying and failing to use. I will also say I really like that they kind of pared down the pages in the back with all that information, because I think a lot of people didn't use those, including myself, and now they only have the page where you write down the dimensions of like various body parts so that you can then use them to measure things, and then a space for favorites, which I have to catch up on this actually, because I actually do really like when something really makes an impression on me. I like having a place to write it down, and like not a lot of things have a huge impression on me, you know? So right now I just have Transcendent Kingdom, which is a book by Yaji Asi, Wicked, everybody knows about Wicked, Saturday Night Fever, which I was so excited to finally watch as a disco lover, and Silver, which is an album by my current favorite band, Say Shishi. Oh my god. And then I always intend to use the list page as a place to write down things that have brought me happiness throughout the year or things that I'm happy to have discovered, but I'm not very consistent with that either. I put down Chicha, which is psychedelic cumbia, and El Chavo del Ocho because it's a show that I've known about for a really long time. I mean, I'm Mexican. You can't be Mexican and not know about El Chavo del Ocho. But I just realized that the main dude's name, Chespirito, is a play on Shakespeare. Little Shakespeare, Chespirito. I love it so much. And then I absolutely love these icons. I haven't really like tried to make these doodles, but they're so good and simple looking. I might just like, I want to practice my doodling. I want to get good at it. So I give myself a tiny little space to try to make it as approachable and non-intimidating as possible, but it's still like too much for me. So maybe I can just make one of those doodles in there every day. That's a thought. I should do that. And then I don't use this 365 days checkoff sheet for anything, but I thought about using it to mark the days that I know I've recorded something for in either of my books for the year. Okay, I feel like I talked about it so much, but I really am so happy with this. Now we can talk about the A5 Vertical Compact Full Year Common Planner, which I use for memory keeping. If you watched my previous video of favorite purchases from last year, you'll know that I kept this in an A5 Tragon, and I was talking about how perfect that cover was because I could carry around tools with me in my cover, and it was like, you know, simplifying my life. That's like kind of the big theme of this year, is simplifying my planning and journaling. But I don't really take this around anymore. Now that I have this like beautiful desk that I'm in love with, which I'm going to do a desk tour eventually. But this desk makes having everything that I need within reach so easy, to the point where like I don't even want to do cafe journaling anymore, because why would I go somewhere to do something that I have the perfect setup for at home? I still love to go to the coffee shop, but I do other things while I'm there instead of journaling. So I've always been attracted to the idea of using little paper bits from my life to decorate a journal and document my memories, and I've tried and failed using a few different ways. First, in an A6 Hobonichi Day Free, which I had fun with for a tiny bit, and then I realized that I hated not having numbered days because then I would have to catch up on the missed days before journaling about the current day, or guess how much space the missed days would take and potentially get it wrong and either have super crammed memories or blank pages between the current day and the catch-up days. So then I tried an A5 Hobonichi Avec, which was both bigger and had a page for every day. And honestly, when I flip back through that book, I think I actually made really good use of it, and I love the daily pages that I filled out. But of course, it was hard to fill up every single day, and I have a lot of blank pages. And I would have even more blank pages if I tried doing that now, because I'm much busier now than I was when I used that book. Then I tried an A5 Hobonichi Day Free so I could have the full space that I had in the Avec, but I ran into the same issue that I did with the A6 Day Free, so that really solidified that I need some structure in any book that I'm going to do memory keeping in. Enter this common planner. I was a little nervous to try to do my ephemera pasting and memory keeping into a weekly spread because I thought that there might be a possibility that I wouldn't have enough space, but I figured it's not a big deal as long as I have a space for the overflow, that space being all the blank pages in the back. I actually haven't had that be an issue at all so far this year, and we're already halfway through the year, so that's a pretty good indication that weekly memory keeping does indeed work for me without much, if any, need for additional space. Again, I don't keep up perfectly with it, but I really enjoy doing it, and I enjoy that even when I let it go for a few weeks, it's not overwhelming to catch up. I lost my stride for the entirety of May, and it's still not all the way backfilled, but it didn't feel like a chore trying to do so because I only have to complete 4 2-page spreads after missing a whole month. And that is just so manageable to me and has really increased the pleasure of memory keeping for me. I can't say enough about how well it works for me to just memory keep on a weekly basis. The Common Planner has sections for goal tracking right here and right here, and of course monthlies too, but I haven't really used them at all, to be honest. I didn't have a clear vision of what I wanted to do for the monthlies, but I really like the idea of having an aesthetic overview of my month with photos and decorations and stamping and the prettiest lettering I can manage. You can see I barely started trying to do that here, but I just get enough fulfillment decorating my weeklies that doing anything on top of that feels like a chore, and I'm just not interested. I very recently decided that I would use it as a media tracker so I can have a quick and easy way to see the media I've consumed throughout the month. It's too early to figure out if it'll stick, but I really hope that it does. I literally just started doing that. Oh, I have to write down that I started watching The Bear with my husband last night. When was that? Friday. Okay. The Bear season 3, I think. And then I figured maybe I would make a little triangle like this, halfway through to indicate that I started it. And then maybe I fill up a whole square when I start and finish something. And then maybe a bottom triangle when I start halfway through, picking up where I left off and then finish it. I don't know. I think I'm going to use the back pages as a place for my morning pages because I have been using a notebook that has been, I think it's going to get me through almost the full year. As you can see, I've used up just a tiny bit over half of it, and we're about halfway through the year, so this is going to last me almost the whole year, and then I'll probably just use this for morning pages after that point, just so that they get used up. And so I don't have to start and not finish a book just for morning pages when I plan on using a cousin next year, in which I'll use the daily pages for morning pages since I'm so consistent with those. Okay, so speaking of my morning pages, I want to move on now to, I guess, what I call the supporting books. They're books that I have to fill specific needs, but I don't worry about keeping up with on an everyday basis. Although the morning pages are every single day, but they're not they don't feel like a chore, and they don't, they're just not something that I have to think about because I've just been doing them for so long now that I just do them, you know? That's a pretty set part of my journaling routine. Like, this is the thing that will get done, is my morning pages. So for the two that I carry around with me every day as part of my EDC, this is my most recent addition, a field notes book. So I have not finished a poem in a really long time, and I haven't finished a song like ever, but I think of little one-liners or sometimes more lines that I feel really proud of relatively often. So I decided that I want a place to be able to refer back to them and perhaps Frankenstein together a full poem or song instead of having them scattered throughout my notes app, or worse, gone entirely. I never really understood the appeal of field notes, but for this use, I really wanted to prioritize something that would add virtually zero bulk or weight to my purse. And an added bonus of field notes is that they have these super cute national parks themed covers and a kind of classic or vintage vibe to them. Next up, we have my Plotter Mini 5. When I saw that they offer this color on the Japan website, I had to have it. It was cheaper than ordering from Plotter USA too, even after the cost of shipping. So I feel like I got really lucky. This is simply, to me, the most elegant and space efficient way to have a notebook wallet combo. I honestly don't have too much use for a pocket notebook like this, but sometimes it's just the perfect thing. Like when I have lists I want to refer back to, like my monthly expenses, cozy places to do work in the city I work in. I have one of artists who dropped projects in 2024 since last year was crazy for music. And I also have this little projects organizer where I like to keep content ideas for YouTube and Substack, even though I literally have not posted on Substack in like a year. I have these little dividers. I use this so seldomly that I forget what they're supposed to be. I think it looks like this one has to do with like money stuff. So the bills, a Hobonichi wish list, a Bai wish list, a list of purchases that I made last Black Friday, and a list of where I want to shop next Black Friday, because I feel like it always sneaks up on me and I don't take advantage of the places that I already want to buy things from. Bagu desires. And then I think this, I don't know why I'm just using this when I have actual dividers, but I think this is supposed to kind of be like planner ideas. And then before this divider is, it looks kind of like a general list. Like I have recommendations here. So I think it's just like general lists that don't have anything to do with buying stuff or planners or journals. This is my first honest attempt at a commonplace book. I've been having fun with it. It is an A6 Stalogy. I do think the grid is a little too big for me, but not so big that I can't enjoy using it. And I kind of like that it doesn't feel like I could write in it forever, because that's how this book feels. The grid is so tiny that I can write and write and write and write and barely make a dent in it, right? But I kind of want to get through this. So far I just have a study guide for the naturalization test to become a US citizen. I was born in the US, but I just want to know that I know the things that people have to know if they weren't born here and want to earn their citizenship, right? Like it pisses me off that they have to know things that most US citizens don't. I'm sorry. Anyway, and then I have a list form of the emotions wheels so that I can identify feelings other than happy, sad, and pissed, because Brene Brown said that most of us can only really identify those three states, and I want to be a little bit more emotionally intelligent than that. But I haven't been in here for very long, but I'm excited to continue filling this up as I find more information that I think is worthy of recording. This is another Hobonichi Weeks. This one is in the sushi bow and tie print, and I bought it new for this year. And I thought I would be using it regularly to learn Japanese, but I have not been doing any writing in it at all. I have like one weekly spread where I did, I think. Barely. But I don't have any regrets about buying this because I really do want to learn Japanese so bad. And when I'm ready to get serious about it, I'll have so much space to practice in a cute and compact book. And I'm not even going to worry about the dates. I don't care. I just like that it has a lot of pages with a tiny grid. So similar to this, it can hold so much, and it's from a Japanese company and it has Japanese food on it. So it's just perfect. I love it. Plus, if I ever actually go to Japan, it'll be so easy to just have this with me and be able to refer back to it if I need to. So I love that. This is one of the many planners that I got last year that had a hyper-specific use. This is one of the more successful ones. I didn't fill it all the way up, but I'm just using whatever blank space I can to test out products that I want to test out. This I designated as my stationary playground, and it still is that. And with a stationary playground, the dates don't really matter, right? So I'm going to keep using this until it's full. This is the A6 5-year diary that I have for my baby, and I have been doing, we were doing really great with it at first, and then we fell off really bad. We're supposed to be in the 3rd year of it, and I mean, we've just fallen off. But the good thing is I do have a bunch of notes in my phone and in like the little A6 books that I carried around about the little things that she would say and do that made us smile. So I know that I have a lot of information to be able to backfill this, but I don't think for every single day, but we'll see. This is another 5-year journal. This is my personal 5-year journal, and I'm doing worse with this one, which is fine because I care more about my baby's journal than my own. Again, I have so many different places that I could backfill this with, but I haven't really found the motivation to do that. I've just been focusing so hard on my 2 main books. And you know, one day when I have like a dedicated routine, like time that I set aside for my books, this will be part of that. Okay, I'm gonna put these back on the bookshelf and then show y'all the bookshelf with some other kind of honorable mentions. Okay, so the books that I just chose to share with y'all are books that even if I barely use them, I care a little bit more about them than the other books that I barely use, but I still think are like good books to have. For example, my fountain pen journal. That's a great thing to have. It's so good to have a place to record all the fountain pens that I use and the different inks that I use them with and how they all interact with one another. But I can't bring myself to care about that more than all the other books that I have. So like, if I have extra time, that's just not one that I'm going to pull out. I also have this little like reference book. It's supposed to be kind of like a manual for my life, a collection of things that I like, you know, recipes that I personally like, and also like great family recipes or different places that my family likes to go. Just any little like life reference stuff should be going in there. But again, cannot bring myself to care about it as much as the other books. And they've all made an appearance in like other videos, so I can put in the cards those videos if you want like a bit of a closer look at some of these. Although of course there's not going to be much to show. So that one is another like hyper specific book from last year. It was supposed to be a dream journal, and I still think a dream journal is great to have. No time for that. One next to it, another hyper specific planner of last year, a budget book. I tried. I really wanted it to work. I'm just not that girl. The next one, another hyper-specific book from last year. It is a Weeks Mega sneaker, which I actually really liked the feeling of. And that was supposed to be an emotions book. That's where the idea came from, to like break down the weekly spread into morning, afternoon, evening feelings. And then I was to use the blank page on the other side to write more detailed notes about my feelings. But nope, never got around to it. And that's pretty much it. To wrap up, what I love most about this lineup, it's that it's tailored to the information that I most value recording and gives what I have found to be damn near the perfect amount of space to capture the moments in my life that I care to record. And it's no longer about what is aesthetic or what is aspirational, because that's not enough to motivate me through keeping up in my books. Even having a perfect lineup is not enough to motivate me in keeping up with my books. But I really am happy with where we are for now. So thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.